Here are the biggest mistakes that young professionals make with their finances. Now, stay tuned till the end because some of these may apply to you and you want to make sure that you address them before it's too late. Let's get into it. Number one is not having a large enough emergency fund, if you do have an emergency fund, because we also see many professionals not having an emergency fund at all. Now, your emergency fund is money set aside in a savings account, checking account. It's not earning any interest on it. It's not making you any money, but the utility of having it there is that it's easily accessible cash that's available in case life happens. And we all know that life happens. Things break down. If you own a home, you're always putting money into that. If you have a car, those expenses can add up. And if you have kids, they break things, they themselves break. And so you need money, cash on hand to be able to pay for that. Sure, you can put it on a credit card, but you want to make sure that you have the cash to pay it off in full and so that you're not carrying a balance going forward. So make sure you have an emergency fund and make sure it's funded enough to cover enough of the expenses that you may incur. The second biggest mistake that we see is not having life insurance coverage. Life insurance is a key component of protecting your family. If you have dependents that rely on you, if you're earning income for your household, you want to make sure that if something happens to you, your family has the resources to continue on. They're not put in a financial bind because you, the breadwinner, or somebody else who's a breadwinner in the family is not there anymore to earn money for the household. Every financial plan that we do for families with dependents and people that rely on you will always have and account for life insurance coverage. Again, you need that to protect your loved ones in case something happens to you. So make sure you have that coverage before something happens, because we see all too often people only think about life insurance after the worst case scenario happens and after they're in that financial bind. And the third biggest mistake that we see is very similar to life insurance, and that is not having your estate planning documents in order. We're talking about wills, we're talking about trusts, we're talking about medical directives, all the legal documents that are required so that your assets can be handled appropriately and in the way that you want them to be handled. Passing away without a will means that the government gets involved in the distribution of your hard-earned assets, and no one wants that. It's costly, it's time-consuming, it's stressful, and it makes all of that public. So put your wishes in a will and make sure that you have them down so that the proper authorities know how to handle your assets. Trusts should be set up if you have beneficiaries, dependents, and you want assets to pass to them, but you still want control of how those assets will be used over their lifetime. Without a trust, life insurance proceeds, assets would pass on to these beneficiaries as soon as they turn 18, and it's probably not the best idea to give them all of that money at such a young age. So a trust allows you to have control of that even from the grave. And medical directives allow you to name someone who's going to make medical decisions on your behalf if you cannot make those for yourself. Very important to have that in place before something bad happens. Again, take care of these things before they become an issue, because they will become an issue and harder to deal with later on in life. And the last big mistake that we see young professionals make with their finances is neglecting the long term. What are you doing to put money away for the long term? How are you funding your future lifestyle, and how are you taking care of your future self? A big thing that we see is families wanting to take care of their kids, making sure that they have everything, but to the detriment and to the neglect of their own finances. Just like in an airplane, if the oxygen mask comes down, you should put yours on first before you help others. So take care of your own finances first. Make sure that you are accounting for that and you're able to save for that. And then, if you can, try to help out the rest of your family if that is important to you. But don't neglect your future and don't neglect that long-term future for what's going on right now. Find ways to put money away, whether it's your 401k and getting a company match, whether it's IRAs on the outside, whether it's after-tax accounts. Put that money to work and make sure you take care of your future self. So we went over the 4 biggest mistakes that I see working professionals make with their finances. 1, not having enough of an emergency fund or having an emergency fund at all. 2, not having life insurance and putting your beneficiaries and dependents in a very tough financial bind. Number 3, not having the estate planning documents set up beforehand so that you maintain control of your assets and how they're going to be distributed. And the last one is neglecting your future retirement savings, your future long-term plans for living in the now or trying to take care of family's education, for example. Put on your own oxygen mask first before you help others. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you soon.